Sometimes all we need is a simple dress that we can twirl in. This dress has all the comfort and swish factor that we need, and it's a quick project. It's McCall 6954, there's a few length options, and it's great for lightweight wovens or low stretch knits like this gray jersey I'm using today. I also have to share my new standing garment steamer. If you don't like to iron, this is a great quick wrinkle release option. The initial setup is super simple, then you just fill the tank with water, turn it on, and it heats up in 45 seconds. I hung up my dress on the standing bracket and steamed out all of those wrinkles. It definitely beats ironing any day, and it's a great addition to my sewing room. I'll link the steamer below, and now let's get sewing. Place your front dress pieces right sides together and pin the center fronts. Sew the center front with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And then press that seam allowance open. We'll do the same for the back dress pieces, placing them right sides together, pinning that center back seam, and then sewing the center back seam with a 5/8 inch seam allowance and pressing the seam open. Now we can place the front and back dress pieces right sides together and pin the shoulder seams and the side seams. Then we'll sew both of the side seams and both of the shoulder seams with a 5/8 inch seam allowance and press each seam open. Fold the neck-facing piece right sides together, matching the short edges and pin in place. Sew with a 5/8 inch seam allowance and press the seam open. Once that seam is sewn, press the neckband once again, this time wrong sides together. Here is the neckline of my dress, and I'm going to place the neckline binding right sides together with the outer edges. Starting with the neckband seam, I'll place it at the center back and pin in place. Then I'll pin at the center front and the other notches. With those landmarks pinned, I'll continue pinning all the way around. Then we'll sew the neckline with a 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. Then I'm going to trim that neckline seam allowance to about 1/4 inch. Then we're going to turn our neckline binding to the inside right along the seam line that we stitched so that we have a nice clean outer seam, and press that binding to the inside all the way around. Now with that binding pressed to the inside, I'm going to edge stitch close to the inner edge of the binding all the way around the neckline. Both of the armhole facings will be applied in the exact same way as the neckline binding. First, folding it right sides together and sewing the short ends with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And then fold and press it in half wrong sides together. Then we can pin the binding in place, first matching the seam of the binding with the underarm seam, right sides together and raw edges even. Then continue pinning at the remaining landmark notches. And then pinning all the way around. And sew those armhole bindings in place with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. I've applied the binding to both of the armhole edges, and now I'm going to trim those seam allowances. Then we'll press those armhole bindings to the inside along the seam line. And then we'll edge stitch close to the inner fold all the way around. Here is the very bottom of the dress, and now we can form the hem, pressing the raw edge to the wrong side all the way around by 5/8 of an inch. We also have the option of encasing the raw edges by creating a narrow hem. So you would take the raw edge and fold it to the crease, and then fold it on the crease, and edge stitch close to that inner fold all the way around. Since this jersey I'm using does not fray, I'm not going to encase the raw edge. I'm simply going to fold it along that 5/8 of an inch hem and edge stitch close to the raw edge all the way around the bottom of the dress. Now your dress is complete. Here's the final product, a sweet and simple summer dress. If your fabric does have a little stretch to it, you can likely size down as I have, sewing the extra small instead of a small. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.